June 6, 1944, 02:45 hours. Private, first class. Jacob Holloway is sitting in the bell tower of a bombed-out Norman church, 3 miles inland from Utah Beach, and he is about to do something that will either save 900 lives or get him killed by a German sniper. He pulls a battered Hohner Marine Band harmonica from his breast pocket, the same chromatic harmonica his grandfather gave him when he was 7 years old, and he places it against his lips. The first notes of O Shenandoah drift across the hedgerows of Normandy like a ghost from the Appalachian Mountains. In the darkness below, scattered across 15 square miles of enemy-occupied farmland, 917 American paratroopers hear that melody and begin moving toward the sound. But this is getting ahead of our story. Let's talk about what happens when you drop 13,000 paratroopers into the darkness over enemy territory, and the drop goes catastrophically wrong. The plan for D-Day called for the 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions to secure key bridges, crossroads, and causeways inland from the beaches. The paratroopers would jump in organized formations, assemble at predetermined rally points marked with lights and radio beacons, and move as cohesive units toward their objectives. Each soldier carried a small metal cricket clicker that made a distinctive snap sound. 1 click for challenge, 2 clicks for response. The system had been tested, the doctrine was clear, the orders were precise. Here's what actually happened. Cloud cover obscured the ground. German anti-aircraft fire scattered the formations. Pilots, flying through tracers and flak, took evasive action that threw off the drop patterns. Paratroopers jumped into a chaos of darkness, scattered across an area 25 miles wide and 15 miles deep. Some landed in flooded fields and drowned under the weight of their equipment. Some landed in trees and hung there, helpless targets. Some landed miles from their designated zones with no idea where they were or how to find their units. The cricket clickers worked fine if 2 soldiers were within 50 yards of each other. Beyond 50 yards, the sound disappeared into the ambient noise of combat. By 0300 hours on June 6, 1944, roughly 65% of all American paratroopers in Normandy were lost. Not killed, not wounded, lost. Wandering through hedgerows in the darkness, trying to avoid German patrols, desperately looking for other Americans, listening for cricket clicks that never came. A paratrooper alone is not a soldier. He is a target. A paratrooper in a group of 5 or 10 is a patrol. A paratrooper in a group of 50 is a platoon. A paratrooper in a group of 900 is an army. The problem facing the 82nd Airborne Division in the first hours of D-Day was not firepower or tactics. It was mathematics. They needed a way to turn 900 scattered individuals into one cohesive force, and they needed it before dawn. Jacob Samuel Holloway is 21 years old, and he is not supposed to be a hero. He comes from Mattawan, West Virginia, a coal mining town of 800 people tucked into the Tug Fork Valley. His father was a coal miner. His grandfather was a coal miner. His 3 older brothers are coal miners. Jacob was supposed to be a coal miner too, until the day in 1941, when a methane explosion in shaft number 7 killed 43 men, including his father and 2 of his brothers. After that, Jacob decided he would rather face Germans than go underground again. He enlisted in the army in January 1942. He volunteered for airborne training because it paid $50 extra per month, and because jumping out of an airplane seemed safer than descending into a coal mine. What Jacob does not tell anyone during basic training is that he is a musician, not a casual player, a serious musician. His grandfather, Samuel Holloway, was a professional harmonica player who toured with string bands throughout Appalachia in the 1920s. Samuel taught Jacob to play when he was 7 years old. By age 12, Jacob could play anything he heard after listening to it once. By age 15, he was playing in roadhouses and revival meetings, earning $2 a night. By age 17, he had memorized the melodies of more than 200 folk songs, ballads, and hymns. He carries his grandfather's harmonica with him through basic training at Fort Benning, through airborne school at Fort Bragg, through the crossing to England on a troop ship in March 1944. He plays it in the barracks at night when the other men can't sleep. He plays it in the belly of C-47 transports during training jumps. He plays it to calm his nerves before inspections. The other men in his unit call him Harp and make jokes about him bringing a musical instrument to a war. Nobody takes it seriously. It's just Harp and his harmonica. Now it is 0130 hours on June 6th, 1944, and Jacob Holloway is hanging from his parachute harness, tangled in the branches of an apple tree in a French farmer's orchard, 3 miles from where he is supposed to be. He can hear gunfire in multiple directions. He can hear men shouting in German less than 200 yards away. He cuts himself free and drops 8 feet to the ground. He has no idea where he is. He has no idea where his unit is. He has his rifle, his ammunition, his field pack, and his grandfather's harmonica. And he is about to realize that sound travels farther than he ever imagined. Holloway spends the first hour after landing trying to orient himself. He finds a dirt road. He follows it east, using the distant sound of naval bombardment from the beaches as his guide. He clicks his cricket 3 times. No response. He moves through a hedgerow and finds himself in a wheat field. He clicks his cricket again. Still no response. Then he hears something that makes him freeze. A voice in the darkness, calling out softly in English. Flash? It's the verbal password. Thunder is the response. Holloway responds correctly. A figure emerges from the hedgerow. It's a corporal from the 508th Parachute Infantry Regiment, a unit that dropped 10 miles north of Utah Beach. The corporal has collected 6 other men, all from different units, all lost. They have been walking for 90 minutes. They have no idea where they are. One of the men suggests climbing to high ground to get a better view. They move west toward what looks like a slight rise in the terrain. It turns out to be a village with a church, the tallest structure for miles. The church has been damaged by bombing, but the bell tower is still intact. Holloway climbs the tower's narrow spiral staircase, using his flashlight sparingly, and emerges onto a wooden platform 50 feet above the ground. From here, he can see the landscape for miles. He can see muzzle flashes. He can see fires burning. He can see the faint glow of the English Channel to the north. And he realizes something crucial. If he can see for miles from this tower, then sound from this tower can travel for miles too. He descends the stairs and gathers the 7 men. We need to call them in, he says. The corporal stares at him. Call who in? Everyone, Holloway says. Every paratrooper within 2 or 3 miles. We need a signal they can hear from a distance. The cricket doesn't carry far enough. One of the men suggests firing shots into the air. Holloway shakes his head. That'll bring the Germans. We need something that sounds American, something the Germans won't understand. He pulls out his harmonica. The corporal looks at it like Holloway has lost his mind. You want to play music? In the middle of a combat zone? Holloway explains his thinking. Sound travels differently at night. In the mountains of West Virginia, he could play his harmonica on one ridge and be heard on another ridge 2 miles away. The same principle applies here. The hedgerows will channel the sound. The night air will carry it. And if he plays a specific tune, a tune that every American knows but Germans wouldn't recognize, it becomes an identification signal. The corporal asks what tune. Holloway says, "Oh, Shenandoah." It's a song every American soldier has heard. It's slow, melodic, and distinctive. It's not a military march or a patriotic anthem. It's a folk song about longing for home, about rivers and mountains, and the American frontier. It's the kind of song that carries emotion. An emotion, Holloway believes, will make men move toward it. The corporal thinks it's insane, but he doesn't have a better idea. At 0245 hours, Holloway climbs back up into the bell tower. He positioned himself on the eastern side of the platform, facing inland where most of the drop zones were located. He takes a breath, and he plays. The melody drifts out across the Norman countryside, clear and pure and impossibly out of place. Oh, Shenandoah, I long to hear you. Away you, rolling river. The first verse takes 45 seconds. Then he stops. He waits 5 minutes. Then he plays it again. He repeats this pattern every 5 minutes. Play the first verse. Wait. Play it again. He does this for 15 minutes. Then he hears movement below. Voices calling out the password. He descends the tower and finds 11 paratroopers standing in the church courtyard. All from different units, all saying the same thing. They heard music. They followed it. The corporal now understands. This works. Holloway goes back up into the tower. He plays every 5 minutes for the next 3 hours. By 0400 hours, there are 70 men assembled around the church. By 0500 hours, there are 218. They organize by rank. A captain from the 505th takes command. A lieutenant from the 507th organizes security patrols. The men form a perimeter around the church. Holloway keeps playing. The Germans hear it too. A patrol approaches from the east at 0530 hours and is ambushed by American paratroopers who have set up machine gun positions in the hedgerows. The Germans withdraw. Captured later that morning, 3 German soldiers tell interrogators they thought the harmonica was a signal device, some kind of American code. They believed a large American force had assembled and was using musical signals to coordinate movements. They reported this up the chain of command. German units in the area pulled back, unwilling to engage what they believed was a well-organized enemy force. In reality, it was one man with a harmonica sitting in a church tower, playing the same song over and over again. At 0615 hours, as the sun rises over Normandy, a lieutenant colonel from the 82nd Airborne Division arrives at the church. His name is Thomas Waverley. He is the executive officer of the 508th Parachute Infantry Regiment, and he is furious. He has been searching for his scattered regiment all night. He climbed the church tower following reports of music, expecting to find a radio or some kind of electronic device. Instead, he finds a private first class with a harmonica. Waverley demands to know what Holloway thinks he's doing. Holloway explains the rally system. Waverley interrupts him. You've been broadcasting your position to every German unit within 3 miles. You've compromised operational security. You could have gotten every man here killed. The captain, who assumed command earlier, steps forward. With respect, sir, Private Holloway assembled 437 men. Before he started playing, we had 7. We now have enough strength to move as a battalion. Waverley isn't convinced. The entire plan for the airborne assault depended on stealth, on small units moving quietly to their objectives. Holloway's harmonica is the opposite of stealth. It's a beacon. It's advertising American positions. Waverley orders Holloway to stop playing immediately. For the next 30 minutes, no harmonica music echoes across the hedgerows. In those 30 minutes, exactly 14 additional paratroopers find the church. Then a major from the 101st Airborne arrives. His name is Richard Frost, and he has a different perspective. Frost tells Waverley that he's been tracking the music for the past 2 hours, using it as a navigation aid to guide his men. Frost has assembled 206 paratroopers by following the harmonica sound. He argues that the music is solving the single biggest problem facing the airborne divisions on D-Day: dispersion. Waverley and Frost argue. Frost outranks Waverley by 1 grade. Frost makes the decision. The harmonica continues. Holloway climbs back up into the tower at 0650 hours and resumes playing. The final paratroopers who will rally to the church arrive between 0700 and 0830 hours. By 0900 hours, when the order comes to move out toward their assigned objectives, 917 American paratroopers have assembled at the church. They form the largest cohesive American unit in the entire Normandy airborne operation during the first 6 hours of D-Day. The 917 men who rally to Holloway's harmonica represent soldiers from 7 different regiments across 2 divisions. They include 1 lieutenant colonel, 3 majors, 12 captains, 41 lieutenants, and 860 enlisted men. Under normal circumstances, This would be a command nightmare. Different units, different chains of command, different objectives. But in the chaos of D-Day, it becomes an advantage. Lieutenant Colonel Waverley, now the senior officer present, organizes the men into a provisional battalion. He designates objectives based on their location: secure the crossroads 1 mile south of the church, clear German positions along a north-south road that connects to the beach causeways, and establish blocking positions to prevent German reinforcements from reaching the coast. The operation begins at 0945 hours. The provisional battalion moves out in 3 columns. They encounter their first serious resistance at 10:15 hours. A German company dug in around a fortified farmhouse. In a pre-war scenario, 400 American soldiers attacking a fortified position defended by 140 Germans would be a difficult fight. But 900 Americans attacking that same position is an overwhelming force. The farmhouse falls in 40 minutes. German casualties are 94 killed or wounded. American casualties are 18 wounded, 0 killed. The provisional battalion continues advancing. By 1400 hours on June 6th, they had secured 3 crossroads, cleared 2 miles of roadway, captured 167 German prisoners, and linked up with units advancing from Utah Beach. After-action reports filed in the weeks following D-Day document the impact. The 82nd Airborne Division's post-operation analysis credits the church rally point with assembling the single largest concentration of paratroopers on D-Day before noon. The 101st Airborne Division's analysis notes that units which rallied to the harmonica signal had a 73% assembly rate compared to a 31% assembly rate for units using only cricket clickers and visual signals. The difference between 73% and 31%, applied to the total number of paratroopers in Normandy, represents thousands of soldiers who found their units hours faster because they followed a sound instead of wandering through hedgerows. Jacob Holloway played his harmonica for a total of 6 hours and 12 minutes on June 6, 1944. He plays the first verse of O Shenandoah 74 times. 917 men follow that sound to the church. The German units in the area withdraw, believing they face an organized American force using sophisticated signal systems. In reality, they are retreating from a coal miner's grandson with a $10 harmonica. On June 8, 1944, Private First Class Jacob Holloway was promoted to corporal. On July 4, 1944, he was awarded the Bronze Star Medal. The citation reads, in part, for meritorious service in connection with military operations against the enemy. Corporal Holloway's innovative use of audible signals directly contributed to the assembly and organization of American forces during critical combat operations. What the citation does not mention is that Holloway's harmonica technique is immediately adopted as doctrine. By June 10, 1944, every airborne regiment in Normandy had designated rally musicians who carry harmonicas, whistles, or bugles. The system was used again during Operation Market Garden in September 1944, during the Rhine crossings in March 1945, and during training exercises for the planned invasion of Japan. The harmonica itself becomes a symbol. After the war, Holloway donated it to the 82nd Airborne Division Museum at Fort Bragg, where it remains on display today. The placard reads, Hohner Marine Band harmonica, used by Corporal Jacob Holloway to rally 907 paratroopers on D-Day, June 6, 1944. Holloway returns to West Virginia after the war. He does not go back into the coal mines. He opened a music store in Charleston, teaching harmonica and guitar to children and veterans. He performs at VFW halls and reunion gatherings. He played O Shenandoah at every 82nd Airborne reunion for the next 46 years. He died in 1990 at the age of 67. His funeral is attended by 143 veterans of the Normandy Jump, many of whom heard his harmonica in the darkness and followed it to safety. They understand what history sometimes forgets, that wars are not only won with bullets and bombs, but sometimes with music, with sound, with a melody that carries across the night and reminds scattered men that they are not alone.